ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. You know, it's no news to you. My source of information, my source of inspiration is the Torah. It's our tradition. I want to go back to the first couple, Adam and Eve. The Torah says, Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv ve'et imo. You know, when you get married, you leave your parents. Ve'davak be'ishto. You have to cling to your wife. Ve'yiyu lebasar echad. And you should become one flesh. I've used that many a time. When I marry a couple, you know, that is the message of the Bible. You know, sometimes when I officiate a wedding, the groom stands sort of in the middle and the bride. To the left of the groom, if you're looking at the groom, it's really to your right, but to the left of the groom is his mother, and to the right of the groom is his bride. And you can see many a time this mother of the groom clinging to his hand very hard. And I have to tell something, let go, my friend. You know, he's getting married, let go. Al ken ya'azov ish et aviv ve'et imo. One leaves one's parents and one clings to his wife. There's a new unit that is being established. There was a very famous rabbi. He was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. I think he was elected in the 30s, maybe in 1936. Rabbi Avigdor Amiel. He was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. He was a very erudite rabbi, prepared in Europe in the most important yeshivot, and elected as the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. One of the reasons for his election was he was a tremendous preacher. Great preacher, great interpreter of scriptures. So he said on one occasion, you know, take a look at this word. Ve'yiyu lebasar echad. They're going to become one flesh. This word basar is used in the beginning, in the first chapters of Bereshit. It says that God saw, ki hishchit kol basar. All flesh had deviated from the norms. This is how the deluge, the Mabul, came about. You know, basar is used to denote, to name in a certain way, also a human being in the first chapter of the Torah. However, with the advent of Abraham, you get a substitution. Instead of basar, it's nefesh. It says, for instance, et nefesh asher asu becharan. In a city called Haran, Abraham and his wife Sarah made souls. Nefesh means soul. According to our rabbis, it means that they converted people to their idea of one God only. They were tremendous teachers, Abraham and Sarah. So this time, the word is nefesh. So Rabbi Avigdor Amiel says, you know what the word basar underlines? It underlines the biological, the physiological nature of a human being. That basically he really has in common with other animals. But when you speak of the word nefesh, you mean spirit. That is no longer present in an animal. That is present only in a human being. Maybe that is an echo of Vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim. God blew into the nostrils of the first man nishmat chayim, a soul of life. It is a spirit. It is something altogether different. So when the Torah says that you have to leave your father and your mother, that is only in your biological aspect. Now you're going to make a home with somebody else. But it doesn't mean that you cut off your umbilical cord spiritually with your parents. It's something altogether different. Because there's something in a human being that goes far beyond his biological needs that you have. And actually the Torah documents how man goes from basar to nefesh, how he advances from being only a biological creature to be also a moral creature, an ethical individual who behaves according to certain norms. I many a time wonder, why did God place man in the Garden of Eden, in such an extraordinary environment where he had everything at his disposal? Whatever he wanted could be satisfied immediately. Maybe that was only appealing to his characteristic as flesh, as basar. When he was out of the Garden of Eden, he had to unite with other people in order to face up to different dangers. But above all, he had to reach higher levels. In the Garden of Eden, he knew God directly. He spoke to God. Outside of the Garden of Eden, he had to discover now, where can he hear the voice of God? And that's where the nephesh, the spiritual part of man, came into being. So that religion really is progression of how man, basically an animal, like other animals, maybe with more intelligence, how he became a spiritual being. That really develops once man leaves the Garden of Eden and he can relate with it. You know, from a biological point of view, I have to take care of somebody and that's it. I have to take care of my immediate family. But from a spiritual point of view, I can take care of others as well. I have tremendous love for my wife, but I also have love for my children. I also have love for my parents. I also relate with friends. The spirit is something that is much bigger than any biological manifestation of man. So Rabbi Amiel reminds us that in the very beginning, maybe man functioned basically according to his biological necessities, but eventually he developed and grew emotionally, spiritually, to become the human being that we see today. Sometimes we feel that maybe spirituality is abandoning us, that today the world is too materialistic. But we have gone through different stages in the history of humanity. Eventually, I think the spirit is the one that conquers all. So that if we feel that today we are too much involved with things, maybe this is only a momentary episode in the history of mankind. We will overcome it, and we will surely start leading a more spiritual life during our own lifetimes as well.